So I want to start with something I know Jessica Reed Kraus is super interested in, which is MAHA and Bobby Kennedy. Jessica, what are your thoughts about how it's going so far? What's going well with MAHA? What do you wish was going better?
Well, can I first just say I think it's funny you brought up the Bible because I ordered a Bible from Amazon. I haven't read it before. So I do think there are a lot of biblical things happening within this
Yeah,
administration, which as a writer I love. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm a Bobby Kennedy diehard, right? I've watched him from the beginning and I've talked to so many people from his from the old days who have seen him, what he's gone through to get his message out. And so for me, I am personally very inspired by what's happening. I think he's making a lot of action pretty quickly, and I think he's going full force now that he has a team behind him. So, but there's interesting things happening within the base as far as like, is he not doing enough? Is he's not, he said this about autism or he said this about vaccines. It doesn't align with what, you know, we think over here, or we think over here. So there's sort of like internal conflict, but I think, I went to the HHS hearing last week and it was about the food dice he's eliminating. And I just think he's on a great path right now. And I am so excited that he's where he's at doing what he's.
Jessica, stay with you for a second. Is there anything you wish was happening faster or that he was doing differently, or you're just basically happy with the whole thing?
Well, I feel like the whole administration is on warp speed right now. I mean, a lot's happening. He has all these studies going on. He's gotten rid of a lot of things that he found unnecessary. And I think he's talking about a lot of things that fringe Americans were interested in. And he's bringing them into a national, making it a national conversation, even the chemtrails stuff. That's like things we used to talk about in quiet corners.
Yeah. Other Jessica, I've been a believer in the power of the MAHA movement for a long for since he's ran originally as a Democrat. Do you have a sense of can you qualitate how big is it? How big is its potential, not just to change the health of our kids and our country, but to realign our politics?
I think that the mom movement is huge, right? Back in, the Bush days, we would talk about soccer moms, right? This is something that has been going on for a very long time. And I know I can probably speak for Jessica as well, the other Jessica. We get these, conversations. And when we started, I was a background person for a very, very long time. And once I was out in the foreground with my last job, the amount of moms that would come up to me, and obviously is very anecdotal, and like whisper to me and, thank you for what you do. Or my husband who works in academia, the people that would come up to him and, oh my gosh, I saw your wife on the news the other day. And so this movement and the things that are being talked about, right? They're like what we would over the, our lifetimes think as common sense things. We want to know what's going on with our kids in school. We want to be the decision makers in their lives. We don't want undue influence on our children and the culture and the values. We think that that should be done in the home. These are all things that for a very long time, and I would venture to say our entire lifetimes and prior to that, we have always believed that that was the role of the parent. And particularly here in California, we see this radical side of the Democrat Party. It's not all Democrats. It's this radical side of the Democrat Party who do not believe that we have the right to raise our children with the values that we see fit.
Yeah. Again, we're talking to Jessica Millan Patterson, former chair until just recently of the California Republican Party, and my friend Jessica Reed Kraus, who I call Voice of a Generation. If you don't subscribe to her Substack or follow her on Instagram, you're making one of the biggest mistakes of your life. That's that simple. Ladies, I want to talk about the administration again more. Leave out the president, leave out the vice president, and leave out Bobby Kennedy, because I know Jessica has her ties there. Jessica Reed Kraus first. Who would you like to have dinner in the Trump administration, and why?
Dinner. Who would I want to have dinner with?
Yeah,
Susie.
and why? Susie Wiles. Tell us why.
Well, I'm just, I feel like she's sort of a mystery. We know she's a powerful force and she's in charge of a lot of the decisions and she's, kind of guiding some of these wild characters. Just, I'm so fascinated by her and I like that we don't know a lot about her. It doesn't seem like she wants to be, really. Yeah, it's like Trump has a lot of people around him who want to be
Yeah, out
in front
there.
of the camera, out there, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's an
Yeah.
interesting woman.
I felt so fortunate that I knew her not super well, but I knew her a little bit before, she became famous back in the 2016 campaign. And she is a super interesting person. I agree. Jessica Millan Patterson, who would you choose and why?
So professionally, without a doubt, it's Susie Wiles. I think that she is the neck of the operation. Obviously, President Trump is the head. She is the one that is steering the direction and
Right.
the work that she does behind the scenes.
If I can book her for a dinner with the four of us, would you guys come to
I would
Washington?
fly anywhere for it.
Tell us
All right.
when, Mark. If
All right.
anyone could do it, it's you.
So I've been wanting to have dinner with Susie, and she's very busy. Like, she's constantly in demand as the chief of staff. So I'm going to use the leverage because she probably would rather have dinner with you two than with me. So stand by. Susie, if you're watching, let's have dinner for four. You know what? She can choose where we go. She's not a big sushi person, I think. So
Whatever Susie wants, we're
whatever
there.
Susie wants. Okay, that sounds good. Who in the administration would you like to give some advice to? If you could speak to one person and tell them what you think they need to do better or differently, who would it be and what would you tell them, starting with you, Jessica Millan Patterson?
So, I generally don't like to be too critical of Republicans. I feel that the Democrats do enough that we have enough to talk about.
How about just
But
constructive advice? Doesn't have to be super
yeah,
negative.
I would say just a general, like stay off a signal. I think that was an unforced error,
Yeah,
and that would be my advice to the whole group.
the whole group. All right, Jessica, other Jessica, who would you give advice to and what would it
Oh
be?
gosh, I don't really like giving advice to anyone, but if I had to, maybe Elon Musk, just like calm down, like sit down, calm down.
Yeah, also good. Um, in terms of media, Jessica, you produce so much incredible content.
Thank you.
To keep up with what's going on in not just our politics, but in our culture and in parenting, etc. Jessica Reed Kraus, what are things you read or listen to or watch besides this program that you would recommend to people? What are some things that you find super
So like
valuable?
guides for media.
Yeah, but media broadly defined, like to be a good citizen, to understand what's going on, not just with the Trump administration, but with our culture, science, medicine, raising kids. What are things that are important to you to understand?
I mean, honestly, I get a lot of my information from public comments. I go into comments. I watch YouTube videos and I read what everybody's saying, and I go into chat rooms and I go into Reddit forums, and that's kind of where you pull what everyday Americans are thinking. I don't know that I have regular points in media that I even try. I feel like it's just such a weird time for media right now, trying to figure out who we trust and who we like and
Yeah.
who we want to give our time to.